Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Nuraisha binti Haji Muhammad, the Executive Chairman of My EG Services Berhad. We apologize for the slight delay in the start of our EGM. That's because technology did a number on us this morning. Welcome to the 23rd Annual General Meeting of My EG. This AGM, which is conducted virtually through live streaming and online remote voting using Remote Participation and Voting, RPV. The facilities is in compliance with Section 327 of the Companies Act 2016 and Clause 63 of the Company's Constitution. The decision to convene this virtual meeting was primarily driven by the Board of Directors of My EG commitment to ensure easier and more efficient access for our shareholders to attend the AGM. By leveraging on technology, we hope that shareholders can actively engage and participate remotely, prioritizing your safety and well-being from the comfort of your respective locations. We believe this approach aligns with the current circumstances and offers greater convenience and flexibility to our shareholders. Once again, we extend a warm welcome to all our shareholders and proxies present today. Your presence and participation in the AGM are greatly valued, and we look forward to a productive and interactive session. Please first allow me to introduce the board members and the company secretary who are present at the broadcast venue. On my right is Mr. Wong Tian Soon, the Group Managing Director of the company. On my left is Mr. Nelson Fu Chian Yi, representative of the company secretary. We also have other board members attending today's AGM and joining us virtually through the RPV facilities. They are Datuk Muhammad J.B. Wong Abdullah, a non-independent, non-executive director of the company. Next is Mr. Wong Kok Chow, an independent, non-executive director of the company and chairman of the audit committee. Next is Datuk Sri Muhammad Mokhtar bin Muhammad Sharif, an independent, non-executive director of the company and chairman of the remuneration committee. Give a wave, Datuk Mokhtar. Okay. Next to him is Datuk Muhammad Jeffrey bin Joaquim, an independent, non-executive director of the company and chairman of the Risk Management Committee. Lastly, we have Puan Mohaini binti Muhammad Yusuf, an independent, non-executive director of the company and chairman of the nomination committee. According to Clause 72 of the company's constitution, the quorum required is 2 members present in person or represented by proxy, or in case of corporations, by a duly authorized representative. Before we proceed with the meeting proper, could the company secretary, Mr. Nelson, please report the number of proxy forms received, the number of shares represented by the proxies, and confirm the quorum for the AGM.
Thank you, Dato' Chairman. Based on the report issued by the poll administrator, a total of 1,254 members, comprising shareholders, proxies, and corporate representatives, have registered for RPV facilities for participation at today's AGM. The company has received a total of 335 proxy forms from the shareholders for a total of 4,421,000,000 124,466 ordinary shares, representing 59.3% of the total issued shares of the company. Out of those, there were 226 shareholders who have appointed the chairman of the meeting as proxy to vote on their behalf, and the shares so represented stood at 1,524,810,704 shares, representing 20.4% of the total issued shares of the company. With this report, I am pleased to confirm that there is a quorum for the AGM. Thank you.
Thank you. With the requisite quorum present, I shall call the meeting to order. The notice of the AGM has been circulated within the stipulated time frame. With your permission, I shall take the notice as read and proceed with the agenda proper. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to paragraph 8.29a of the main market listing requirements of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad, all resolutions set out in the notice of the AGM must be voted by poll. In view of this, and being the chairman of the meeting, I shall demand for a poll on all the resolutions set forth in the notice of today's AGM pursuant to clause 76 of the Constitution of the company. The company has appointed ACMO Digital Solutions Sdn Berhad as the poll administrator to conduct the poll voting, and Governance Advisory and Solutions Sdn Berhad as the independent scrutineers to verify the poll results. We will commence by going through all the resolutions as outlined in the notice of the AGM. Following that, we will proceed to conduct a Q&A session to address questions raised by shareholders and proxies attending this meeting. To facilitate efficient communication, we have implemented a real-time text-based system utilizing RPV facilities, which allow shareholders and proxies to submit their questions through typed text. Ladies and gentlemen, we have received written questions from the Minority Shareholders Watch Group, MSYG, as well as from several individual shareholders prior to this AGM. Please note that we shall present our responses after we have tabled all the resolutions. In situations where there are overlapping questions or questions of a similar nature and scope, we will group the related questions and provide our responses accordingly. The board and management team will make every effort to address all questions raised during the Q&A session. However, in the event of time constraints, unanswered questions will be addressed and answers will be made available on the company's website at the earliest practicable time. After the Q&A, all resolutions shall be put to vote remotely using the RPV facilities. Please be informed that the voting session is now open. You may cast and submit your votes during the proceeding of the meeting before the end of the voting session and official announcements of the closure of the voting session. Please do take note that the attendance of this AGM is restricted to shareholders, proxies, and authorized representatives of corporate shareholders who have registered to join the meeting remotely, as discussions in this AGM are deemed confidential and only for the knowledge of such relevant parties. Any visual or audio recording whilst this AGM is conducted is strictly prohibited unless our prior written consent is obtained. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed with the business of the meeting. The first item on the agenda is to receive the audited financial statements for the financial year ended 31st December 2023, together with the reports of the directors and auditors thereon. The audited financial statements, together with the reports of the directors and auditors, have been in your possession for the prescribed period, and with your permission, I shall take them as read. Please note that this agenda item is meant for discussion purposes only and does not require approval of shareholders. Hence, it will not be put forward for voting. We shall now move on to the financial highlights of the group's results. I would like to bring to your attention to some of the key highlights. Revenue achieved for financial year 2023 was RM 774.26 billion as compared to the previous financial year of RM 651.11 million, representing an increase of 21.59%. MyEG Group's compounded annual growth rate, or CAGR, for revenue over the last 5 financial years was 6.6%. The net profit attributable to the owners of the company for the financial year 2023 was recorded at RM 487.65 million as compared to RM 398.66 million in the previous financial year. Its CAGR over the last 5 financial years was a fantastic 30.5%. The increase in revenue and net profit attributable to the owners of the company for financial year 2023 was primarily due to the contribution from the newly launched services from Zetrix blockchain platform, as well as from the sale of Zetrix tokens and its initial exchange offerings on 3 major global digital asset exchanges. The existing concession and commercial services and an increase in foreign worker job matching service due to the uplifting of the freeze on foreign worker recruitment also contributed to the increase in revenue and PAT achieved in financial year 2023. As a result, the net earnings per share stood at 6.6 cents for financial year 2023 as compared to 5.4 cents in the previous financial year. Shareholders' equity rose to 2.20 billion for financial year 2023 as compared to 1.88 billion ringgit in the previous financial year, and its CAGR over the last 5 financial years was 31.2%. We remain cautiously optimistic of the company's performance and will continue to introduce measures needed to ensure the sustainability of MyEG's organic growth. With this, the board is proposing a final single-tier dividend of 1.68 cents per ordinary share. Taking into consideration the first interim single-tier dividend of 0.25 cents paid earlier, the total dividend per ordinary share for financial year 2023 amounts to 1.93 cents. This represents a payout ratio of approximately 30% of the net profit for the same year. I wish to put on record that the audited financial statements of the company have been duly received by the shareholders and proxies, and we shall proceed to the agenda of the meeting. The first resolution on the agenda is to approve the payment of a final single-tier dividend of 1.68 cents per ordinary share in respect of the financial year ended 31 December 2023. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. The next item on the agenda is to approve the directors' fees and benefits to the directors of the company and its subsidiaries. The total amount proposed for the financial year ended 31st December 2023 is ringgit Malaysia 763,560. Please be informed that the interested directors will abstain from voting on this resolution. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. Our next resolution is on the voting on the re-election of Datuk Sri Muhammad Mokhtar. The next addenda is the re-election of Datuk Sri Muhammad Mokhtar bin Muhammad Sharif, who is retiring pursuant to Clause 94 of the Constitution of the company and being eligible has offered himself for re-election. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. The next item on the agenda is the re-election of Mr. Wong Tian Soon, who is retiring pursuant to Clause 94 of the Constitution of the company and being eligible has offered himself for re-election. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. The next item on the agenda is the reappointment of TGS TWPLT as auditors of the company and to authorize the directors to fix their remuneration. The retiring auditors, TGS TWPLT, have indicated their willingness to accept a reappointment. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. The next item on the agenda is to seek a renewal of the general mandate from the shareholders for the purchase of the company's own ordinary shares. The details and rationale for the share buyback are set out in the circular dated 30th April 2024. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. Our next item on the agenda is to obtain shareholders' approval for directors to allot and issue new shares when the need arises, up to a maximum amount of 10% of the total number of issued shares of the company. I repeat, the next item on the agenda is to obtain shareholders' approval for directors to allot the issue new shares when the need arises, up to a maximum amount of 10% of the total number of issued shares of the company, and also to seek shareholders to waive the statutory preemptive rights pursuant to Section 85 of the Companies Act 2016 to be read together with Section 58 of the Company's Constitution. The waiver of preemptive rights will allow the directors of the company to issue new shares of the company which rank equally to existing issued shares of the company to any person without having to offer new shares to all existing shareholders of the company prior to issuance of new shares in the company under the general mandate. This mandate, if passed, would provide at the company flexibility and empower the directors to swiftly issue and allot new shares to fund future investment projects, working capital and/or acquisitions. This would eliminate delays and costs associated with convening general meeting to obtain shareholders' approval for such share issuance. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. Our last item on the agenda is to obtain shareholders' approval for the directors to issue and allot new ordinary shares in the company in relation to the dividend reinvestment plan that provides shareholders with an option to elect to reinvest the cash dividend in ordinary shares of the company. I shall now put the motion of this resolution to the meeting for consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been informed by the Company Secretary that there is no other business for which due notice has been given. That being all the items of the agenda, we shall now proceed to the Q&A question. As mentioned earlier, we have received written questions from the MSYG as well as from several individual shareholders prior to the AGM and are pleased to present you the company's responses. Kindly refer to the presented slides as shown on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now invite Mr. Wong Tian Soon, the Group Managing Director, to address some questions raised by the shareholders during the meeting.
Thank you, Dato' Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now address some of the questions that have been submitted during the meeting. We obviously cannot answer all the questions, but we did notice that most of the questions are similar in nature. Probably just a bit of difference in paraphrasing the questions. So if your questions were not answered, please do not be disappointed. I'm sure we would have addressed it in some of the other similar questions. So first question from Chua Jun Ho. Is data center benefiting MyAG's blockchain business in coming years? Well, data centers are the physical infrastructure that supports the internet and of course AI. So particularly any digital business requires this physical infrastructure provided by data centers. So I wouldn't say that it benefits MyAG's blockchain business. I would say that of course it is required for any digital business. If there were no data centers, of course the digital business would not be able to operate. But obviously, you know, as we are reading every day, there are lots and lots of investments going into data centers. Hence, there will be no shortage of data centers. On the other hand, of course, if there is surplus, excessive supply of data centers, then obviously cost goes down and we might benefit from that. Will banks implement blockchain technology in financial systems? Definitely. I'm sure most of you are familiar with CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, of which the most widely used and most mature is China's eCNY. So we are involved in actually implementing eCNY for offshore payments. So that's in the pipeline. We are super excited about it. So definitely blockchain technology will be used in financial systems. Will it be used by banks directly or to complement or even to substitute the banks? I think that will pan out in the next coming few years. Can Citrix blockchain be applied on e-invoicing to prevent immutability? Great question. The e-invoicing is based on solutions implemented in a few other countries, right? This includes most of the European countries and Singapore, and most of these other countries are also migrating to a blockchain platform. So obviously, their e-invoicing solutions were implemented some time ago, before Web3 or blockchain was as mature as it is today. And hence, when they first implemented it, there was no option to implement it on a blockchain. But now, as Web3 becomes more mature and accessible, most of these countries are migrating their e-invoicing solutions to the blockchain. As you mentioned rightly, to ensure immutability. Is MyAG going to develop into AI industry? Our view is everything is going to adopt AI. Every business is going to adopt AI in one way or the other. So definitely, we are strong believers in AI, and we obviously, as a digital business, we think that AI is going to play a hugely important role in the services that we deploy, and we are investing in AI as well. Next question by Joseph Lamwai. What is the total effective holding percentage MyAG has on Citrix blockchain Web3 system? Okay, I assume that you are referring to the Citrix Layer 1 platform. The effective percentage we have on ownership of the nodes today is close to 95%. We will be divesting some of the nodes to strategic investors who add value to the platform as we go along. So that effective percentage would change over time. From Tan Kiet Siang, how much revenue or operating profit contributed from Citrix blockchain business in Q1 of 2024? It's substantial. I would say that it's more than 20%. From Tan Kiat Siang and Ng Chi Siong, how much revenue and operating profit was contributed from Philippines business? We do not consolidate the revenue and operating profit contributed by our JV in Philippines. However, we equity account the results. So for last year, 2023, the contribution from our JV in Philippines was 435,000 profit. That's for last year, and it's still growing. From Tan Kiat Siang again, has the company launched its Z-Trade service following the official visit by Chinese Premier Li Qiang to Malaysia last week? What is the outlook for Z-Trade going forward? So, when the Chinese Premier was in KL to commemorate the 50th anniversary celebrations, there were several documents that were signed, G2G documents, and among which was the joint statement on the connectivity to the Chinese single window system. So that's the one that involves Z-Trade. So end of this month, that is by early next week, we will be completing our live connectivity to China Customs, also known as GACC. GACC's single window. So the connectivity will be live and the transactions will be live. The prospects for Z-Trade going forward, of course, we are hugely optimistic about Z-Trade. I think it changes the whole game for the whole industry for cross-border trade. As you know, trade digitalization is an important agenda even for the ASEAN countries. And as chair of the ASEAN Trade Digitalization Council, we are promoting the further digitalization of trade among the ASEAN countries ourselves, and that, of course, obviously, we are going to be promoting Z-Trade as the solution. May I know what is the prospect of our blockchain technology? Can we provide this service to other industries? If the answer is yes, how big is the potential market size? Any impact or formal announcement during or after the recent China Premier Li Qiang visit to Malaysia on MyEG Z-Trade connection with China blockchain for cross-border trade services? For the second question, of course, I've just answered it, right? We will be making an announcement on this shortly. For the first question, obviously, we are pivoting our whole business to blockchain, or what we commonly call Web3. So obviously, we are going to transition all our legacy business as well as all our future new services onto Web3. Obviously, so we believe that the potential market size is going to be huge. Basically, our thesis is that all digital services that we are conducting today on Web2 will transition to Web3. Yeah. When a customer uses Z-Trade, how are they going to pay MyEG? Well, the transactions for all Web3 services, the transactions are using tokens. However, the customer can pay us in fiat, i.e. in ringgit or renminbi, and we will convert it into tokens, and they can use the transactions. From Chan Chun Wai, how many driving test centers are using the e-driving module now? At the moment, there are approximately 10 driving institutes which are in various stages of implementing our e-testing module. I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, the Transport Minister did mention that it is going to be mandatory at some point in time. So all tests will be conducted as an e-test at some point in time when everyone is ready. Again, from Chan Chun Wai, what is the progress and when will the Securities and Futures Commission of Hong Kong, SFC, approve ETF consisting of a basket of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Z-Trade be approved and launched? So we are in engagement with the SFC, constant engagement with SFC. I think there is no indication yet on when SFC will start approving baskets of ETFs based on a basket of cryptocurrencies. So that engagement is still ongoing, and of course, we look forward to the approval of the SFC for ETFs involving a basket of cryptocurrencies. From Edwin Go, could you elaborate on MyG's involvement in My Digital ID and how would the company commercialize it? Okay, we have two aspects of being involved in My Digital ID. The most obvious one would be the registering of My Digital ID users. Unfortunately, that is not a very profitable business because the government's budget for registration of users is relatively small. So we get paid a ringgit plus for every user that we register. So obviously that is not going to cover the cost. The second part of our involvement is more interesting. We will be, of course, hosting the My Digital ID on the national blockchain. Right, the national blockchain is an initiative that we have with MIMOS and we co-own with MIMOS. So in the future, commercial service providers who wish to use My Digital ID will tap into the digitized digital ID on the blockchain to get the required verification from the end users. So it will be a verification as a service model. So the last question from shareholder Tang Jo Yen. What's the coming company's prospects? And according to the quarterly report, it will be continuously contributed by selling tokens. Again, I want to highlight that all the Web3 services are powered by tokens. So even if a customer pays us in fiat, like ringgit or renminbi, it will be converted into tokens. So it will be reported as a token sale in our financial reports. So the sale of tokens is not based on hot air, it is based on providing a service. So as we introduce increasingly more Web3 services like Ztrade, Zcert, and hopefully in the future ECNY, it will result in increased amounts of token sales. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we have responded to all major concerns. Thank you for the questions. I shall now close the Q&A. Should there be questions that we have not been able to address during the allocated time, like free gifts, the responses to those questions will be made available to you on the company's website at the earliest practicable time. I would now like to invite Dato' Chairman to continue with the proceedings of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Ladies and gentlemen, we have addressed all the items on the agenda as well as the Q&A session. We will now proceed to conduct the poll for all the resolutions. For those who have not yet cast your votes, the polling session will remain open for another 10 minutes and the countdown time will be displayed on your screen. For the benefit of the shareholders, I am pleased to inform you that I have been appointed to act as a proxy for a number of shareholders and I shall vote in accordance with the instructions given. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now declare that the polling station is closed. We shall now adjourn the meeting for the poll administrator and independent scrutineers to tabulate and verify the poll results. The meeting shall resume shortly for the declaration of the poll results. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I now call the meeting to order. I have received the poll results from the independent scrutineers. I would like to present the poll results as shown on the screen. Okay. Based on the poll results as shown on the screen, I hereby declare all resolutions carried. Thank you very much. We are very pleased with the results, and ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business of the meeting, and I hereby declare the AGM closed. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for attending this meeting and for your unwavering support towards MyEG. Your active participation and engagement have been invaluable. We will conclude the live streaming now, and once again, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.